morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the end, guys. Or not, or the beginning, I don't know. Confused.
This is the end.
All relative.
Yes.
Depends on what end you're looking at. If you're the fiat side of things, yeah, this is the end.
This is the end of fiat.
You don't hold Bitcoin. You know, it's gradually and suddenly.
There's a meme I saw a couple of years ago that said, "The beginning is near." You know how you always see like the people on the side of the road with "the end is near."
Oh, the end is near. Oh, I like that.
But the sign said, "The beginning is near." I like that one.
Was that related to Bitcoin?
I think it was actually related to Bitcoin, or like a new kind of financial system being put into place and being dismantled, and then the new one being born. But it was around like the financial system. But good meme. But yeah, this is the end. Well, what does that mean, Robin? What were we talking about there?
I mean, I had it in my mind because we're talking about the movie "This Is the End," but I thought about it fits nicely also with the conversation. I mean, Bitcoin is not at 77K. I think it's 76. I think I got the wrong price there. We need a real-time update in the title to make the Bitcoin price go up and down. But I thought about that because we have sound isn't working.
It might just be their computer. I'm just double checking right now to see if I can hear it.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope sound is working for you guys. But yeah, I thought about it because people, when we end people have that habit if Bitcoin is going down even a little bit, or especially like the last 8 months from the all-time high, the 40-50%, they start hating it. They start like saying it's the end. We talk about situations where Bitcoin might come to the end. And when it goes up, it's just like flowers and everything is great. And all like, I hate that Bitcoin works like that, because when everything goes up, I become more bearish because like, it's not all flowers. Like it's like it's when we reach up a good level, people will sell because they want to fulfill their dreams and fulfill, like they want to buy that home, the car, that all of those things. And then on the other side, if it goes down, all of a sudden they're selling, they're like, and it's just like psychology is so weird in that way. And so I was thinking about like, this is the time not to sell. This is the time where you like stick your head in and you go even harder. And then maybe in a year, we're at the very other end where we're at 200K, 250K again. And then everyone is like, buy, and like, we're going to the moon, like $1 million candle, and Samson Mao is coming in and all of those things. And then I'm like, okay, you can still buy. Bitcoin is still an amazing thing. But maybe, just maybe, now is a good time to kind of settle down. Like, don't get overwhelmed. Don't leverage your wife. Don't mortgage your house. Like whatever you're doing, like don't go all in and sell your kidney and buy more Bitcoin. So like, I kind of had that framework in mind for today, because now we're at the other end where people are like, I'm scared. Like, what is going to happen?
Yeah, I think that's just market psychology. I think people are just like that for everything.
Yeah.
Like, let's say, for example, during COVID, when do you guys remember the toilet paper stuff? People panicked and they bought as much toilet paper as they could, and they probably still didn't use it.
Flock of birds, man.
It just applies to everything.
In different cities, right? Like I saw, like some countries were buying toilet paper more, some countries were buying beer more than toilet paper. I was like,
that's smart.
It was different for different countries. Spain was, I think, on the beer side. Germany was definitely on the toilet paper side.
Wow. Yeah, it's just, I think it's just like they're a herd. It's a flock that just follows whoever is in the front, and they don't know why. They don't know what it's like. I mean, if you think about it, think every few years or every few weeks, we have a new person who sold their Bitcoin. And because of that person selling their Bitcoin, I'm not buying anymore. So now more recently had, what's the guy's name? Mark Cuban. Then before that, there's always like a name that people try to attach to why Bitcoin's price is going down. Before that, we had people saying, oh, Epstein. And then before that, I mean, there's There's always times Warren Buffett comes up on the news sometimes saying, oh, Bitcoin's garbage, or it's this or it's that. And you always have that. And these are people who are just trying to follow a leader. They don't have, they're followers. They're not leaders. I think the leaders are studying Bitcoin for themselves rather than trying to use somebody else's conviction to their advantage.
That's just human nature, right? That's, I always have to remind myself almost on the weekly is like, whatever I want to do, I should probably do the exact opposite of, because you never want to be part of the herd or the flock, because that's really where you get burned, right? And
that's so funny. I do that now too. Exactly what you said.
But it's hard because it goes against your like human nature. But for me, it's like, you know, the more years you spend in Bitcoin, the more you kind of understand how it is. And I've made a lot of mistakes, and even like in the last couple of years, I've made mistakes. And Rajat's actually been a big part of changing my mentality a little bit around this, where now it's like, if somebody out there has like a salary or kind of a consistent income that's coming in, you look at right now where it's like 40% down, it's kind of been chopping sideways for the last 6 months. Now is the time where you do want to be allocating the majority of your funds into Bitcoin. And then as that kind of rides up and you start going from, let's say 80 to 100 to 120 all time high, and then above that, that's where maybe if you have that same amount of like steady income coming in or net income every month, that's maybe where you start actually allocating more towards cash at that point versus Bitcoin. And whereas times like this, where it's down significantly, maybe out of 100% split, maybe you go 80% Bitcoin, 20% cash. And then when Bitcoin's up and you're getting less sats for the same amount of dollars, maybe that's when you start kind of stockpiling some cash, maybe 80% cash, 20% Bitcoin. And then you can just ride the waves with it. And then when it comes back down, you're sitting on some cash. And so I think that if you kind of think intelligently about this, you kind of go off a little bit of history, but also what you expect to happen. You can actually do pretty well if you just are willing to put in a little bit of time. But none of that is like panicking. There's no panic there. It's just like what makes the most sense based on where we are right now, and how many sats you can get for the dollars that you have. And then you kind of just, you know, look at the 200-day moving average or the X, whatever you want to use, and just kind of follow that as your intelligent strategy.
It's just consistency. That's it.
100%.
You just keep doing it.
You know, proof of work, showing up every day. We were talking about this the other day. Just being a professional means showing up, doing the same thing over, doing the monotonous thing over and over again. And that's the difference between amateurs and people that get like Vitalik. Like we just talked about Mark Cuban. You know, Cuban didn't get the Ethereum memo apparently. And I just saw something about Cardano, people starting to rage quit over Cardano, which again, I don't know why that's taken 10 years, but you know, like people have blinders on and we lose focus. We talked about this many times too with Bitcoiners. You come to Bitcoin because it's a need to know basis. You've got something wrong and you're putting in the work. You've got rug pulled from these other things. You don't get here just because it's like, oh, hey, I had a dream one night, and it's because it's through the work. It's through the repetition over and over again. Being a professional. That's what a professional operator is. It's someone who's being professional over their life, showing up, having a budget, which most people don't even have a budget, let alone an income statement, let alone a balance sheet, let alone a cash flow statement. You know, like you're going down the levels here of depth, right? And so, I mean, you guys, you know, business owners, you know, accountant, financial brain. So like, I don't need to tell you three that, but the average person is just completely lost, right? Because you have the power of parenting. Parents not telling them, not showing them, not including them in the money conversations as they grow older. School, obviously, not involving you in any of that, because why would they want you to understand what you're doing with your finances or how to be independent? So again, just the broken incentives everywhere around society. But the moral of the story is just showing up every day. To your guys' point, being a professional about your life in all areas. And that's the difference, whether you're an operator in the armed forces, which is my example I use with hockey, because obviously I played hockey, but my buddy who was an Army Ranger, and we talk about this all the time, the difference between the professionals and amateurs, where same tactics, they do the same things. It's just one group of people operated the same way every single day and upheld that integrity, that standard. And then the amateur is just kind of lost. They do it right the one time, and then it takes them 11 more times to do it right. And they're just kind of lost. They're ADDing it, and they're just like all over the place and whatever. That can't happen. if you're going to be a serious person.
Yeah, I think that applies.
Go ahead, Rashad.
I was going to say, I think that applies to everything, right? It applies to starting a business. It applies to fitness. It applies to eating healthy.
Yes.
And it just, I love the fact that everything just compounds and it just keeps compounding. And like, let's say, for example, let's say you just eat out all the time and then you cut it down to, let's say you eat out 7 days a week and you cut it down to 6 days a week. That last day, you're going to have to find something to eat that you're not going to get from outside. And what do? You cook. Maybe you have to make something, and maybe the food that you make tastes like shit, but that one day you made something and you tried and you attempted to do something that could potentially lead to you cooking every single day and really wanting to cook and wanting to meal prep and being able to save that money. Like, think about that. That compounds into you being able to buy more Bitcoin. You being able to cook, you being able to cook compounds into you being able to buy more Bitcoin. Like, that's the way it like all roads. Jory, you said this a few days ago, and it reminds me of it. All roads lead to Bitcoin. If you have the most Bitcoin, you have the most freedom. You have the most of your time. And if you can find ways to get more Bitcoin, why not?
There's also the thing that I wanted to bring up when Brandon was talking about, because I love sports analogies. I love that with saving, with budgeting, with content creation, with whatever, actually. Because you see in sports that the people that know, let's say, for example, soccer, or like for hockey, it's probably the same thing. For swimming, it's the same thing. There's the people that know swimming, the people that know how to play soccer and how to do a strategic match and all of those things. And they might train like 3 times a week, and they might play once on Saturday on like some non-amateur, like a little bit more professional. Maybe they get like $1,000-$2,000 a month for it. Like they're on good level. They're not bad. They're really good. Like if they play against like the average dude, they will kill him. They are so much better. But there's a difference between them and like the best of the best. And the difference is like the last 5 to 10%. It's the last like a few perfection things, like staying after the workout another 30 minutes to train like the free kick or like the jump in the water or whatever people in hockey do to get better. So like it's like the last few percent. And the same with budgeting and like planning things. Most people, they get a salary, they have one bank account, they have one investing account, and that's it. And they don't think about, okay, how do I do the allocation between emergency accounts that I need for my operating business, or for myself, like operating my family, or operating just myself. What do I invest in? What are the different options? Having an open mind of all the different options. I mean, we all are now in the Bitcoin because we had to prove that we have an open mind about it. Otherwise, we would have said, oh, it's a shit coin, it's like a bad thing, it's a scam, and we'd have not looked at it twice. Like that's the nice thing about Bitcoin. Like you have to kind of prove that you have an open mind, because your judgment before was probably a bad thing. I don't know, like you three probably also had a thing like me before you got into Bitcoin, like it's a scam, it's not a good thing, like why would it even make sense? I had it for 3 years, I ignored it because of that reason. And so you have to kind of prove that and like give the last 10%, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is getting over that. And that's where a lot of people just don't do it, because it's difficult. And I was kind of thinking of the food there, going back to Rajad. Like before we started the show today, we were talking about movies and how we kind of came to the conclusion that there hasn't been a good comedy movie since Hangover or Superbad, like 2007, 2008, 2009, which coincidentally aligns with the great financial collapse. And so you just think how many things tie back to fiat. Movies even being one of them, comedy movies, and the division and trying to, not wanting to offend people, and what kind of impact that has on society. But even with the food there, it's like,
sorry, Jor, didn't The Office come out then too?
Yeah, The Office and the first couple seasons of The Office were the best ones too.
That's crazy. Everything aligns. Sorry, go ahead with what you're saying. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It just, everything kind of goes back to that. And you wonder why, like, you know, I live at kind of a lake here where, so it's kind of like a summer. In the wintertime, there's like 40 people that live here. In the summer, there's, you know, 10 or 20x that. But you see people walking around in like bikinis and swimsuits or whatever it is. And it's just like, I don't know, in the last decade or two, I've really noticed that people have gotten a lot thicker, a lot fatter. And you know, I kind of feel bad saying that, but it's my observation. It's reality. I might offend people, but like if you look at women, men, both sides of the aisle here, like people are significantly more overweight than they were 10 or 15 years ago. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the seed oils. And a lot of that has to do with people not having enough time in their life because they're so busy in fiat land that they can't source good food and have time to cook their own food. So they go to Arby's or McDonald's or to whatever it is. And that's like a societal level problem that we're seeing right now. It's just like, it's not even close. If you look at a picture from not even that long ago, I mean, you go back to the 60s and it's like a whole different world. But like even like 2010 versus 2026, you look at a picture of people on the beach, it's like night and day. And it's not just because people got lazier, but it's because of the food and the, you know, without wanting to run the prices up of a Big Mac, they have to make shittier ingredients, and it's all seed oils. And it's just, you see that trickling into every aspect of life. And kind of what, you know, to tie to what we're talking about here, it's like you have to understand that system is broken. That system cannot be fixed. And you have to show up every single day and contribute and store your wealth in the what do we got here? Beach picture?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the world's different now. And I think that a big part of that is seed oils and fiat and just driving the costs of everything down as low as possible without, you know, making people sleep on the streets, even though a big population is now. It's like, there's so many aspects of that, but all you can do is contribute, take that, put it in Bitcoin and do it every single day. No matter if it's 77K, 707,000K, you have to do it every single day. No matter what the amount is, $5, $10, $15, take it out of the fiat system, put into Bitcoin, but you can't do it whenever you feel like it or whenever you have some extra money. It has to be something that you do every single day. And, you know, kind of what Brandon and Robin were talking about, we probably won't see the impact of that for a decade out. But looking back, the people who showed up every day and the people who bought Bitcoin every day are going to be the ones who are in a much different situation than those who didn't.
I have a little bit of question on that. Sorry.
I just have a question just on Canada, because I've noticed whenever I fly from Europe to America, people are significantly more fat in America than in Europe. Just like in general, like on an average. Is that the same in Canada, or is Canada different from the USA?
I'd say the USA's the biggest.
Yeah.
Like when I went to Portugal in 2024, like I really noticed the food quality. Like it's very good there in Portugal compared to what it is here. Everything here is very processed. Yeah. And that has significant impact on the digestive system, on everything. Like I don't think people are lazier here in Canada than they would be in Europe. Maybe some certain pockets of, you know, different parts of the countries, but like overall it's the food. And Bridge here, she doesn't eat like gluten. She's whatever it's called, gluteniac or celiac. I think it's celiac. But she ate everything she wanted there. She ate pasta, she ate bread, she ate everything there because it's actually made fresh with good ingredients. So it really has nothing to do with like the grains itself. It's all the processed bullshit that we have here in Canada. And I think it's even worse in the US personally.
You said you had a point, Rashad, of like I think pushing back against what Joe said.
I was gonna say. So, Jor, I agree with what you said. Everything you said was great. But I feel like in certain people's situations, they can't buy every day. Like let's say, for example, if you're an entrepreneur and you're getting income, let's say you get just like lump sums of income.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you said was great for building the habit.
Yep.
And when you have skin in the game, it makes you study it.
Yep.
Makes you study Bitcoin. But at a point, I feel like at a point, you're going to buy no matter what. Like I personally don't have a weekly buy. I don't have a daily buy. I don't have a DCA. I just buy literally whenever I have extra cash.
Yeah.
But it took me time to get to this point. So I get what you're saying. In the beginning, I think what you said, it does apply. Like if you have $1,000, buy $10 a day, and just leave that and just keep it going, because you'll go through the volatility. You'll be benefiting from it. But if you've been doing it for like 3-4 years and you've studied it, I think at that point you can kind of just buy whenever you want to. So let's say you get a deposit of $5,000 and you only need 2,000 of it, 3,000 immediately go into Bitcoin.
Yep, agree. And I just think that it makes. I mean, I do both. Like if I get a paycheck or something, like I'll smash by too. But I just like the idea of like, and the reason why I like the daily so much is because then you don't care about the price. And that's what I was going to say, Rajat, is like, you're already at the point now where you don't care what the price is. But for the people, like when I first got into Bitcoin, man, I was checking the freaking price every day, like 10 times a day. And it's stressful because if you got some money on the sidelines, you're like, should I buy now? Should I wait till tomorrow? What's it going to be tomorrow? And then you miss it and you're like, shit, I missed that. Now what am I going to do? Whereas if you're just buying every single day, you don't care what the price is because you're literally buying at every price. So it takes out the stress, the anxiety, all that, which I think is a big hurdle for people who are somewhat newer into Bitcoin.
Yeah, there's this thing where, especially in the beginning, you check things so regularly. Like I remember the first, even before was even more urgent when I was in Tesla and I haven't discovered Bitcoin yet. I checked Tesla like every single day, and Sunday was horrible for me. Saturday was horrible because I couldn't see the price. Now with Bitcoin, it's even worse because you can check the Bitcoin price literally whenever. Because if the Europeans sleep, the Americans are up, and so like whenever you have a wake time, you can check the news cycle of Bitcoin. There's on Saturday in the morning some drama happening, which is resolved on Sunday afternoon already. And like the news cycle is crazy because the price is always moving, and there's always a story. Bitcoin fell from 77.5K to 73.4K. That's why. And there's like 100 different news articles on that. It's, I mean, that's BS, but it makes it anxiety inducing for new people, and that's why I think the habit of just buying DCA and not trying to time the market is a really good one.
Yeah, time in the market, right?
Sorry, Brandon, I want to get your thoughts on that too, and kind of like how you think about it. But Rajat, I think just to kind of drive home the point here, I really like, because I see some comments here of like Bitcoin not moving in a couple of years. If you show them that spreadsheet of buying at every price and DCAing, what is it, every week or every day?
It's every week.
Every week.
I know what spreadsheet you're pulling.
Yeah, so even though you'd look back like 4 years and say, well, Bitcoin really hasn't moved, but if you were actually buying every week, you're about 60% up right now if you were dollar cost averaging.
Let me find it here. Where is it?
What's your thoughts on that, Brandon? How do you?
Yeah, I mean, while Rajat's pulling that up, it is fascinating because people, I don't know why it's so prevalent. It's so prevalent, the timing, the market, and then also cherry picking data and then cherry picking dates, and that's fascinating to me. And I know intellectually why it happens, because the person that's asking and talking about it has zero Bitcoin. Yeah. So they're like, cool, bro, like you bought it 10 years ago. And it's like, yeah, but you haven't done the work. So you don't realize that it's going to continue going up forever. Like that's not a meme. I mean, it is a meme, but it's also the truth. That's why it's a meme. It's because the price is going up forever because the dollar is going to zero. And, Jor brought up the chart a couple of weeks ago of, just Google USD to Bitcoin, and it's 100% down. It's lost 100% in the last 17 years against Bitcoin, the dollar has. So if you've been holding, you've just been getting slowly poorer over time every single year, and that's only going to increase. I mean, what Trump, a month or two ago, a couple months ago, like, we need an extra 500 billion in our military budget, a 50% increase. That's, where do we think, again, in investing, there's a saying of the trend is your friend. You don't you don't swim upstream. And so unless like the thesis of Bitcoin is dead when the government says, for 5, 10, 20 years straight, hey, we're paying down the debt now. We're not printing any more currency anymore. And we're getting rid of all entitlement programs. We're getting rid of basically all the military. We're doing all. Then someone can come in here and be like, yes, you guys are wrong. F you guys. You guys suck. Bitcoin sucks. Cool. Well, at that point, cool, great. You win after 20, 30 years of the government doing that consistently. Like we said, being professional, the government being an actual professional, doing their due diligence, actually balancing and having a budget. Number one, having a budget, being under budget, within budget, doing that for decades on end. Then and only then can you come in and say the thesis of Bitcoin has died. There's no point to it. You guys were wrong. I'm just not taking that bet. I would never in a billion years take that bet. And history has shown us that that never works. The government always tries to take more power, tries to print currency, melt it down, coin clip, spray currency into the air like it's, a happy fun house, clown house. And that's the way of the world. And so if you're going to tell me human nature is going to stop and everything's going to reverse and gravity all of a sudden doesn't exist anymore, then sure. And that's why you just coming back to, flow chart back to the beginning of this is why people cherry pick their deadlines. They don't want to do the work. They want to say, the Peter Schiff stuff of like, oh, look, in the last 6 months, Bitcoin's down. Yeah, it's because you're cherry picking data, you moron. I mean, it's like, how intellectually dumb can you be? Like, how childish can you be? And it's an exercise of just being a child, being an amateur versus being a professional and actually seeing the forest and the trees and actually doing the work. That's what's so incredibly frustrating when these people, continually, same thing over and over again. It's like, you just want a quick answer. You want a quick buck. I get it. We've all not had any money in our life at some point in our life. And so I understand that. But putting in the work, being professional, like you guys mentioned earlier, again, it's putting in the work, going to the gym, putting the reps in, there's no change. The first month, first 2 months, you don't see any change. Most people quit because they're lazy, because they don't get it. They haven't put in the studying. They don't understand what's going on. They have a high time preference. They think short term. I can't help you with that. If you want to be successful, you have to change your mindset. You have to change who you are and what you do have. Become a different person so you can and do different things to have what you want to have. There is no getting around this.
And it seems like as we kind of get further into the fiat system of convenience, the Amazon world, same day delivery, that's insane. That wasn't even a thought a decade ago, where you could order something online and have it show up at your doorstep the next day. And as we kind of go further down that road, I feel like people become even more disconnected from proof of work, which is what Bitcoin is, because everybody just expects things right now, this second, overnight. And I love that quote from Derek Sivers. He said, if information was all that you needed, everybody would have $1 billion in 6-pack abs.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's just so much information out there, and everybody has access to it. It's just the people who actually get $1 billion in 6-pack abs are the ones who actually put in the work, which most don't do.
Yep. Sad. The poor will always be among you.
Yeah, true. And I mean, you can sit here and complain about it or worry about it, or you can just kind of look after yourself and your family and your community. Did you find that spreadsheet, boys?
I did.
Maybe walk us through it here, Rajat, quick.
Yeah. So what this shows you is if you were to buy $150 worth of Bitcoin since the all-time high, that was in November of 2021. It was at $69,000 a coin. So if you bought since that day, every single week, $150 per week, and you kept going, you kept going, you kept going, and you can see here, if you bought in November of 2022, where the price was the lowest, so November of 2022, if you bought $150 worth of Bitcoin, then it would now be worth $690. So just buying consistently, it adds up. And you can see here, almost all of these buys are worth more than $150. So that's what adds up. There are certain buys that are below. You can see that, like, let's say October of 2025, when Bitcoin's price was at 126K, that buy is now at $90. That's down like 50%. But the biggest buys are up like 450%. So all of that just aggregated and put together, wow. Bitcoin's only up 10% since that high. So you see that here, 10.15%. But if you had just kept dollar cost averaging, you just kept buying and buying and buying, you bought at the worst time possible. Like, this is the worst time you could have bought, right? And you just kept buying. You'd now be up 80.83%.
Wow.
Whereas so you would have put in $35,700, you would own 0.84 Bitcoin, and it's now worth 64,000. So if you did the same thing with the S&P 500, You can see here the difference in the value there. Bitcoin's only up 10% in that time. The S&P 500 is up 60%. You see that 60%. It went from $469 to $749. If you did the same thing with the S&P 500, so you just kept buying and you kept buying, you'd only be up 43%.
That's crazy.
That is wild. And everyone, that's all we hear about lately, right? Like, oh, look at S&P. Oh, if you just would have done that. It's just wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely
But it's because people act like they would have just bought once and then they would have never bought again. Or they act
and those
like
aren't those people. Be do have.
Like they act like they would have bought at the exact worst time and then they never would have bought again. They would have seen Bitcoin go down 80% and they wouldn't have bought, or they just think that they would have held. Most of these people would probably have sold at a loss.
Yes.
Like
EQ. Very low EQ society.
Exactly. And they say that, oh, Bitcoin's only up 10%. And actually there was a comment that said, oh, Bitcoin's only up this amount. And I want to pull it up because I want to call them out on saying stupid shit. Where's the comment? The person said, oh, if you had just bought, sitting at 77K 5 years later.
Yeah.
That's what they said. Sitting at 77K 5 years later. And
right there, he just made another comment too.
They said past 5 years have not been that great. We hit 69K in 2021. It doesn't matter. You're acting like you would have bought at 69K and that's the only Bitcoin that you would have bought. But that's not true. If you've been buying for 7 years, I wish I could show. Actually, let's see if we can find that. Dollar cost average calculator. So there's a dollar cost average calculator here. I think this is going to help a lot of people because they see these comments and they get worried and they get scared. Just while I look for that, if you guys want to talk about anything else.
Yeah, it's also this cherry picking of like, I look at the previous cycle high and compare it with this cycle's low and say like, oh, there's no development. Like it's like it's an easy argument to make, and people will fall for that.
There's only 2 touch points there, like 4 years ago and today. That's all people need to see. Like it's very easy for the human mind to comprehend that versus today. But when you think about it through this lens, and people might be wondering, how does that even make sense? Like how could the S&P, even though it's up even more, how could it be worth less if you would have DCA'd like that? And it's because of it. I would say it's because of volatility, right? Like Bitcoin usually shoots up quick and comes down quick. So you're not buying for very long going upwards. And then it kind of chops sideways for like, that's the longest ranges in Bitcoin. If we're thinking about this in fiat terms, the longest ranges are like either down or kind of sideways, and it goes up and it goes up. Whereas the S&P, it's just kind of like straight up, which very much correlates with the amount of money that they print and the inflation. It's just kind of like straight up and there's no real volatility there. It's just pretty much as much money as they print, it usually flows into the S&P, into the inflation rate typically matches the returns of the S&P stock market, but it's more of just like a gradual upwards. So that I think that's the difference for anyone who's wondering like, how is that possible? But it's because of the volatility in Bitcoin versus the S&P.
And it's also too, I mean, again, like there's so many reasons that Bitcoin is better. The properties of Bitcoin, being a protocol. I mean, all these things we've kind of touched on. But in real estate, like I was a real estate guy for 10 years. I mean, Rajat did real estate. I mean, like that's a world where you are renting from the government still.
Right.
You are renting from the government. You are still on the Titanic. I mean, there's so many different facets to this that make Bitcoin such a superior, I want to say asset, but it's a superior protocol to everything that exists. It's not even remotely close. And that's where, to me, like the cognitive dissonance that people have. Look at whales. There's some whales that have gotten scared over the last few years. And you can call it whatever you want, but they're scared. And, you can say, well, I want to live my life. I want to do this and that. Like, okay. Part of being a Bitcoiner is you got to be down for the fight. You just have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you're in Bitcoin, you're a Bitcoiner, you're down. You're down. Like we're hanging separately or hanging together. And this is just how history works. And so that's part of it too. People just want to get in their comfy chair. They want some fiat gains. They want to jump in and jump out. I mean, that ain't me. And I don't think there's anyone here on the stage right now. And there's a bigger, grander mission at play. And that's what we're truly fighting for at the end of the day. You might have come in for a number go up, and many people do. And it will. And we get sucked into these like little small time frames, and we talked about this a couple months ago. The chart went viral of someone saying, look, it's at 66,000 or whatever it was, and that was a price in May 21, the high or whatever it was. So they took the high from 2021 and they tried to show the low now, where it's just been just sitting there, can't break through the bottom of that, but it couldn't hit that top and break through that for more than a day in 2021. So it's like just completely cherry picking things, and it goes viral, of course. Like, it's got millions of views on Twitter, and it's like, oh, then you turn off all kinds of minds when it's up 20x, from the low in 2020 was 3,500. So it's up 20x from the low 6 years ago versus now, which is just mind bending, and exactly what you guys are showing here with these charts and the DCA and what you would have been doing this whole time. And that's going to be ad infinitum until or unless, we just said, for decades on end, human nature changes and we go the other direction. Good luck.
I want to show you guys just briefly, because we have seen that actually in Bitcoin before. If we cherry pick again the high from a previous cycle to the low to the next cycle, we can go back to, for example, 2017, where we had the high of like 20K, and then we can go all the way forward to, let's see, what is the fast forward to, like November 2020. So like it's 3 years into the future, and it's like down 7%. And so like it's a very long period of time where it just like goes down or like doesn't do anything. And all of a sudden, in like a few months, it went like 3x, 4x up. And so Bitcoin, it's not a new thing to Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin will behave differently in the next, let's say, like couple of years and decades, because it's a different beast. It's a bigger one, different players in the market, institutional players on the market. People understand it better. So people are less likely to trade it around than it was like 10 years ago or like 8 years ago or 12 years ago. So like it definitely will behave differently in the next years than it was like the previous years. But it's still very early, and we're still. People think we are already in like that. We're already the top, and we've made it. And now it's like we've already gone through the suddenly phase, because there's like 2021 the uprise or 2017 the uprise. That's like nothing. If you zoom out, it's like that, or like another way like that. And then at some point, there's like a thing will come. So I don't know. It's just, for me, always funny if we cherry pick dates and say, like, hasn't done a lot.
Can you share my screen there again? Oh, actually, okay. I think this is important. So we had a conversation. We're having a conversation, myself and Bishop of Real Estate on my channel. But he's basically saying that he bought Bitcoin from 7 years ago, and it's done nothing for him. But that's absolutely not true. Because if he had consistently just kept buying, and he kept buying, then he would be up massively. So let's say, for example, if you put $10 per week into Bitcoin, you would have invested $3,660 in that time. But now you'd be up to $8,030. So you'd be up like 150%, which I think is a pretty good number. I don't think every asset can do that for you. And you can see here that if you put money into it, the lowest that your portfolio would have gone to was exactly what you put in. So you can see that here. This is a pretty cool comparison. So the green is what you put in. The yellow is the value of your portfolio. Over time, your portfolio just keeps growing. And I think seeing comments like that, they hurt people. They make them think that it's not worth it to do this. It's not worth it to dollar cost average. I'm going to time the market. I'm going to do that. And it just goes completely against what Jor was saying earlier, the principle of just dollar cost averaging and understanding what Bitcoin is.
Yep. And you can't lose. You take the price out of the equation. You kind of get into this mentality of, I'm trading units of illusion for units of reality. And I'm actually getting a pretty damn good spread on that. If you look at $1 purchasing 1,200 sats right now, that's, to me, 1 unit of illusion in exchange for 1,200 units of reality. And that's really what Bitcoin is. It's reality. We even heard a general from the US military refer to it as Bitcoin is reality, because Bitcoin is the new measuring stick. So you can look at all these fiat charts and whatever it is, but one currency takes 0 energy to produce, and one currency or one unit, I guess you'd say, is actually based on energy. It's backed by energy. You need energy to produce it. And kind of as you guys were thinking and talking about that, I'm like, so we've seen some of the OGs. That's been the narrative for the last couple of years. Is like some of the Bitcoin OGs are selling their coins. But to me, it's like, I don't know, man. I kind of saw their point of view of like, yeah, they waited 10 years or 15 years and they got paid. But I'm like, I don't think I would sell it. As I kind of think through things now, like you got options like lead. And if you could be in there for like 20 years, I'm pretty sure that Bitcoin's going to outperform a 10% interest rate. Like and especially if you have a couple thousand more Bitcoin that's like backing that, you can always just contribute more if you needed to. I just don't really understand the logic of actually selling the Bitcoin, especially somebody who went through 15 years of ups and downs, probably has a pretty damn good understanding of it. Why would you sell the Bitcoin?
I think it's people taking chips off the table.
But
Maybe
why?
They sell some to buy a house.
You could still do that with keeping the Bitcoin.
Saying, well, why don't they lend against it? Yeah.
Why don't they borrow against it? I mean, yeah.
Just want it clean and easy. Want to pay that tax? Want it clean and simple and easy, right? Like
I think they just don't want to connect to it anymore. They just want it done and they don't want to think about it. And like, if you have a loan, I think for some people, it's not even about the financial side of things. It's more like the mental and just like they have to think about it and it takes up mental space. And I can see where they're coming from. Like, let's say you want to buy a house, and let's say you have a bunch of Bitcoin. Your spouse doesn't really care about Bitcoin, and they don't like debt, and you're not gonna like stress them out.
You want to live your life.
Yeah, if you have 1,000 Bitcoin, it doesn't really matter to you if you sell like 5, 10, 20 to buy a house, right? And I think that's a good thing though, because it just means
I just wouldn't do it.
Right. I get where you're coming from too, but I feel like it makes sense because it just means Bitcoin is moving to other people. Like right now, think about it. At some point, Bitcoin's going to be at $1 million. The longer it stays at this point here, the more people can accumulate and they can benefit from it. And think about the way that I look at it, it's positive because more people are on the side of Bitcoin and they want Bitcoin to grow and they want to see it keep going up
organically.
Yeah. And if it just skyrockets and it's not organic, if it's almost like getting fake followers.
Yeah.
It looks like it looks like you're doing well and you feel like you're doing well, but then let's say, for example, if you wanted to sell something, you can't sell it.
Yep.
Like if Bitcoin just skyrockets and everybody just borrows and borrows and borrows and they just buy as much as they can instead of dollar cost averaging like we were talking about. They have their job, they put some of their value into Bitcoin because they understand it. I think this is a good thing for those people because they can just keep accumulating. And if Bitcoin had skyrocketed, they'd probably have like half the coins.
Look at just AI too. I mean, look at, Bitcoin had explosive runs the last 10, 15 years because it was new, the market's small, but also like people like shiny new objects, right? Like we all have that to a degree. We're all human, so like look at AI now, same thing. Like people are just, we got new AI influencers. They were a crypto NFT influencer. Admittedly, I've seen some of these guys like, oh, I was one of the biggest NFT influencers. Now a lot of us have moved to AI. People just like shiny objects. And this goes back to activity bias. And Bitcoin is an investment. It's a protocol. It's an asset right now. It's all these things. It's money. But eventually it's just going to be money. It's not like an investment 30 years from now, 50 years from now. It's not looked at. It's just money. And so that's what's so confusing to the average person as well, because they're like, I'm trying to put it in a box and like just have it be one thing, but it's not. It's many things. And that's also what's very confusing. And then on top of that, we are creatures that like to create. We like to do things. We don't like to sit idle. So just sitting in Bitcoin feels very weird. So we get the Vitaliks of the world. You get people that are like, this is just too slow. I need to go do things. So, Vitalik, whatever that, you can say whatever you want about him, but that's probably just majority of humans. Like he's just like, this is too slow. Okay, well then go build AI shit. Go build a car company. Go build other things. And then we account for our world with Bitcoin. You don't mess with Bitcoin. And yes, can you get a return on it now? And you're going to increase your purchasing power over time? Yeah, you are, because that's the window we're in. We're just lucky to live during that time. But eventually it'll just be money. And maybe it's, getting 5, 10, 12% a year increase in that purchasing power because it is finite. But it's not looked at as, you're going to have people going back into that world more and more as well to use that equity to then go build companies and to go lend and do things and say, hey, I want to make 20% and build this company or whatever it might be. So the world that as we know, it's not going away necessarily. It's just, it's going to be using different money over time as we go forward. But that's what's, again, this activity bias, all this is very hard to see. And Bishop said too, like, again, yeah, the last 5 years are tough for the average person. I feel for people that bought in 2021 or 2022 or whatever it was. And like, you're just kind of sitting there like, with the stick, right? The meme, you're kind of touching the candle and you're like, oh, what the heck's going on? And this is just these times that try men's souls. You have to get through some of these times. We know the thesis hasn't changed. Bitcoin, like we said before, Bitcoin has not changed. It's still the same thing it was then. And we know the governments are going to print forever. I mean, you do the math, 1 + 1 = 2. And it's just the activity bias. And then the shiny object thing, like I touched on too. People want to go into things. That's why people go to casinos. There's a great book from a couple decades ago, I believe. I forget the book's name, but people are addicted to losing. Like it's not like people are addicted to winning. People are addicted to losing. And that's this world that we live in, unfortunately. It's like the dopamine rush of like, I might lose it all. Like you think about when you go to the Grand Canyon, you're like at Niagara Falls and you're like sitting on the edge and you're like, I could just jump in right now. Like there's a fatalistic part of what's up?
Oh, my camera was just blurry.
Oh, geez. And so, yeah, it's just like this fatalistic part of like human beings for some reason. Like we just have to push the edges. We're creative beings. So like we want to go do stuff and you have a hard time sitting idle. And so we want to go create stuff. And that's this world that kind of gets blended together and it gets foggy and fuzzy at times and blurred. And that's where it is. Instead of messing with Bitcoin or something like that and going and create. So that's why to me, the AI stuff is amazing. A lot of people, even the stable coins, like AI and all these things, they're going to lead people back to Bitcoin now faster because we've kind of left that early adoption explosive phase of really small asset class. People are just like, you think about the 2017 bull run. Most people had no idea. They'd never heard of Bitcoin once in their life. That's why Google search terms are exploding, everything. People are like, what the hell is Bitcoin? And so they're jumping into it. That's a cat's out of the bag. Like you're not going to have that moment because people now have heard Bitcoin. It's this slower adoption. We get cheaper sats, slower over time, the demographic shift, all of this over time, the institutions, everything comes in and adopts Bitcoin more and more and more. And it's just the way of the world. And people go off to do other things, fortunately. And then we account for things in Bitcoin and keep governments honest going forward. Because now we have the mirror. We have the contrast of Bitcoin versus the shenanigans that they're pulling.
Maybe, go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, like on that note, Brandon, I think that where a lot of people really screw up in Bitcoin, and this is something that I think is important for everybody to kind of understand. If you think about your own journey in Bitcoin, I love doing this because the further you get in Bitcoin, the kind of more detached you get from where you were, who you were before, what knowledge you had. And I think if you can kind of put yourself in your position when you first got into Bitcoin, like, why was it? It wasn't because you wanted to like evade the system. It wasn't because you wanted to be able to send value to somebody else on a Sunday morning. You didn't know any of these things. You just wanted them to be richer in 6 months because everything's going up, right? Like that's when the majority of people get into Bitcoin, is when it's running up and everybody wants to be a part of it. And I think that when you're in that situation, you're thinking like, hey, I got $2,000 here that I have in my checking account. I don't really need it today. So I'm going to put it into Bitcoin, and maybe in 6 months from now, this is going to keep going up. And you're actually doing this mental math. You're like, might be worth 4,000, might be worth 6,000. It's gone up from this to this in the last 6 months. Why can't it? But that's where everybody gets burned. And they needed that $2,000. Something comes up, their engine blows or their tires blow up or they need a new roof or whatever it is, hot water tank, and they need that. And then it's all of a sudden down 50% because they weren't thinking about Bitcoin as farmland or a very long-term asset. They were looking at it. The reason they bought it is because they wanted more fiat units in 6 months or a year from now. And that's just not how Bitcoin works. And so I think that that's the biggest problem that a lot of people have when they get into Bitcoin, is that they're buying Bitcoin with money that they're going to need sometime soon. And then when Bitcoin doesn't go on their timeline, they get burned by Bitcoin and then they're mad at it. But again, going back to like what Rajat said earlier, all roads lead to Bitcoin, because eventually they get past that and they're like, okay, well, it makes sense for me to be able to send money without a bank or an intermediary. It makes sense for this fixed supply. You get there. But like when everybody first gets into Bitcoin, it's always like, I'm going to turn this $1,000 into $3,000. That's the mentality of it. And everybody loses.
Yeah,
There was also a comment that fits to that a little bit. Sorry to interrupt. Because he asked, I think like 2-3 times already. Hey, everyone talks about 0.1 Bitcoin. Is getting 1 Bitcoin really that special? And actually, I thought about that when you were talking, because we lose the sight that this is not an asset that someone can just magically make more of.
Right.
So every single video that is like 0.1 Bitcoin is special, 1 Bitcoin is special, 10 Bitcoin, whatever the freaking amount is, it's true. Because it's a very unique space and you can't make more of it. And it's like, it never has been there in history. And so like, if you have the comparison of like buying land in Manhattan, buying land where afterwards it's desert and afterwards there's all this amazing things there, this is this special place. And so I think like comparing it to like a land sometimes makes, even though it's like a horrible comparison in general to compare real estate with Bitcoin, but like it makes a lot of sense for people to make that mental bridge to see, oh yeah, like that's why it's special. Sorry, Rashad, I felt it fits nicely in here.
Oh no, that's okay. Great point. I was gonna say, actually ties to exactly what the comment that you had highlighted there was. I think a lot of people, George says this all the time. I know Brandon says this all the time as well. I think a lot of people overestimate how much Bitcoin they're going to need.
Yeah, big time.
Like they think, oh, I'm going to need 1, I'm going to need 10. Think about it. There were posts a few years ago where people were saying, I have 600 Bitcoin and I feel behind. How would you feel right now if you had 600 Bitcoin? And people, I think the problem here is that people see it as, they have unit bias. They see it as, 0.1, 10% of something, that can't be worth anything, right? They see, 10% of $1 can't be worth anything. Of course, because it isn't. But 10% of a Bitcoin is completely different because there's a finite number of Bitcoin out there. There's never going to be more. People actually think, I mean, this is how far behind we are. People still think that infinite divisibility means infinite supply. And it like exactly this post.
Yeah.
And that 0.1 Bitcoin is going to change a lot of people's lives. That 0.1 Bitcoin, keep in mind, a lot of people don't even have like $500 in savings right now. If you don't have $500 in savings, at some point, 0.1 Bitcoin is going to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. How is that not going to change your life? And think about it this way. You can, and I made a video on this, Bitcoin will change, owning 0.1 Bitcoin will change your life. And my main point was that you can borrow against it and you can start a business. You can leave your job, and think about the decrease in stress from that. You don't have to worry about how you're going to get groceries. You don't have to worry about how you're going to pay your rent. That allows you to focus on other things that could have a bigger impact, a bigger positive impact in your life. So you're not just trying to tread water. You're actually flying, like you're actually growing. In most people's cases, they're just working as hard as they can to not drown. And that's where all of their energy goes. Instead of doing that, maybe they can, I mean, I don't know, start a side hustle, start another business that leaves them with way more money left over, and they can use that to build even more wealth even faster.
Can I piggyback off of this quick, Robin? Can I share my screen? Because I think that this is important when you think about it through this lens as well. I guess I got to bring up my screen here. But this is a spreadsheet I just made this morning. So it's kind of timely. And I think that when you look at it this way, this is kind of like the average salary and like average costs for people. So the average salary in the US is actually about $69,000, which I used 80 because I figured most people who watch these streams are a little above average. But you look at it and you think about, this is kind of what you have left over. And I think these are very conservative amounts, like house, vehicle, food, fun, very conservative amounts. And you're left with about $300 per month. That's, I would say, best case for a lot of people. But of course, there's exceptions. This isn't everybody. There's people who have tens of thousands to store every month, especially if you're on OnlyFans. But if you're looking at something like this is like with inflation. But then the moral of the story is this, is that it would take the average person 240 months based on this, again, this $300 a month that you have left over. That's like no emergency fund. That's no fun. That's pretty much baseline. It would take the average person 240 months or 20 years to get to one whole Bitcoin, assuming they can keep up with inflation and assuming that Bitcoin price doesn't go up in 20 years.
Wow.
So that just shows you like how rare one Bitcoin is actually going to be as this kind of plays out. And of course, if you're a baby boomer and you have like real estate that you can sell for Bitcoin, it's a little bit different. But for somebody who's just kind of starting from scratch and they don't want to sell their real estate, they don't want to, sell all their stocks, they still have a lot of faith in that system. It's going to take about at least bare minimum 20 years for somebody to get to one whole Bitcoin. So, that just goes to show really how rare it's going to be. And I think that Bitcoin's probably going to go up in fiat terms in the next 20 years. So it's probably going to be like 40, 50 years for somebody to get to one whole Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think the only small, not pushback, but like a thing to also consider in that is obviously, as you said, the liquid net worth. So it's not just the income, it's obviously people also have money. And there's actually the positive side of it, because I think there's a lot of money in really horrible assets. Like in bonds, even real estate. I know a lot of people that own their own home and then they just bought a second one because they did well and they did not know anywhere else to put their money. And so they just leave it as a holiday home. And I'm that's not a good store for your money. I get why you're buying your own home, there's like the cultural thing and the emotional thing and having roots and founding a family, having kids and all of those things. What I don't get is buying real estate property as just a pure investment. And so I think there's a lot of wealth and a lot of other assets where I'm like, why is that the case? Bond market is probably the most ridiculous one, in my opinion.
I mean, if you think about it, people are getting houses for free.
Yeah, money creation.
They buy one house, they save money for that house, they save the down payment for that house, and then after that, they can just borrow against that house, and they can buy another house, and they can buy another house. The system is designed for that, right? I mean, I get what you're saying, Robin. All of that makes sense, and I agree. It doesn't make sense to us as people who have figured out, okay, that this is a scam, right? In terms of Bitcoin, the price of housing goes down. But to people who don't see that yet, like the people who, it's a lens, right? Money is a lens. And the people who, like, let's say, for example, if I take my glasses off, I can't see you guys. And I see you guys in a different way. And if I try to describe you, you're going to look different from what you would look like if I was wearing my glasses. And that's exactly what's happening with the world. So people right now, they're wearing these glasses and they're like smeared with shit. And that's what fiat is. Fiat's blocking their vision and they can't see. And what Bitcoin does is it cleans off their lenses and it makes them see exactly what's actually happening. And because their vision is smeared with shit, and that's exactly what fiat is. Fiat is shit. It's making them believe that, oh, these asset prices are going up, and they don't think any deeper. They just see what they see, and they don't understand that reality isn't what they see. And I think Bitcoin exposes that. For me, Bitcoin exposed that. Before Bitcoin, I wouldn't have understood. I would have been like, oh, you guys are crackheads.
It's it's such a, I want to bring the meme up one more time because I feel like it just fits so nicely in this conversation, because people don't really get how valuable and rare this whole thing is. And they also compare like the real estate thing to like the dollars. It's just ridiculous. It's really cool. And also I wanted to bring it up because I really miss on Twitter the Bitcoin symbol after the hashtag Bitcoin. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe it's just me, but it was such a nice thing in your timeline to see the Bitcoin symbol everywhere. It's a shame that, I mean, hashtags now anyway is not a thing on X anymore. I think they kind of got like, they just got rid of hashtags. I think it's still possible, but nobody uses them anymore. But I do miss that. I saw that. I was like, oh, that's a throwback to 2022, the good times.
I forgot about that.
Bitcoin Twitter. It's a really nice thing.
Yeah, it's so true. No, I mean, again, real estate, all this, like, Cold said, make your money when you buy, bottom line. And that's true. The problem is there hasn't nominally been a bottom since 2012. That's the last time I saw a bottom in Bitcoin. A real change, we'll say, from prices were up, Prices crashed all the way down, and then they started coming up again in this secular long-term bull market. Basically, I was in that world. I got into real estate in 2012 at the bottom, and the prices have just gone up. I think one of the best neighborhoods in Metro Detroit for like renters, we'll say. So like if you want to buy an investment property, it would be like the Royal Oak area. It's like, north, 20, it's probably 10, 15 miles outside the city of Detroit. Very centrally located, tons of families, young families, a lot of turnover there now, young people there now out of college. The nominal bottom, so that the median price home, so again, nominally speaking, not inflation adjusted, but the bottom, the median price home there was like $65,000. Do you have any idea what the median price now is of a home in Royal Oak? It's like $250,000, $275,000, the median price home. It's 4 or 5x what that was. So, because I was a guy in real estate who was like, there's going to be a crash again. You can't print this amount of currency in 08, 09, 10, 11, 12. It's going to crash again. And I'm going to scoop it all up in 2015, 16, 17, 18. Well, guess what? I'm still waiting. And this is when you start understanding. And this is when I started understanding Bitcoin, really starting to read, 2017, 2018 of, oh my gosh, there's a invisible crash going on and Bitcoin showing you the crash. But if you are counting everything in dollars, it's impossible to see because they just keep melting up through everything. There's not going to be a crash going forward, a nominal crash. They've showed you the playbook, right? The IMF financial repression report in 2012, ironically at the bottom of all this, the Ben Bernanke paper in 2002. Again, if there's some deflationary crash back down to, 1/5 the price of all assets like that, then okay. Then I'm not planning on that. I'm buying Bitcoin because being in business, I had a marketing company. I had two real estate companies, an investment company and a brokerage company. I've been in these worlds, and you start realizing after a while that we ain't going back. There's no world where, nominally speaking, we're going back to prices that are going to be $60,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot house in Royal Oak, or name some really desirable, suburban neighborhood in America, or even Canada for that matter. Like it's just not happening because as soon as something breaks, the money printers will come on like you can't believe. And so we're never going back there. And that's why buying Bitcoin and holding Bitcoin and not getting anxious and just holding it long-term, continuing to work, provide value to society, do whatever you're doing, swinging hammers, being a lawyer, a doctor, working at McDonald's, Tim Hortons, I don't care. Whatever you're doing, provide value to society and then save the difference in Bitcoin. And you will continually eat away at the rest of society, and you will have more and more purchasing power flow to you versus everyone else. And that's one of the massive reasons I came to Bitcoin, because you look at cap rates in real estate, PE ratios and stocks. None of it made sense. You're like looking around, you're like, none of this makes sense. What that flying F is going on right now? For years, studying these things, like Robin said, reading 10Ks, 8, whatever the hell, 10 Qs, 10 Bs, 59 Ks. Like, what are we doing here? It's like, that's clown world for the average person. And so if you want to go to the casino, literal casino, or you want to study the prospectuses of companies, or you want to be a real estate guy, then great. Like, so be it. Like, go do that. Like, been in those worlds. Many of us, all 4 of us have been in those worlds. You just see that difference and say, hey, the average person can't live like this anymore. It's impossible. Basically, society can't function anymore going this direction for that much longer. Call it a month or a year or even 10 years. But at some point, it's Clayton Ravine and Back to the Future 3, and the tracks are out. You got to get to 88 miles an hour before you hit the end of the tracks, or else you're going to be 1,000 people low in the ravine. Good luck. Buckle up. And that's you hope you're hitting the jackpot of finding the right stock, finding the right company, start whatever it is. The average person will not be able to function like that going forward. That's why the UBI, UHI talk comes into play, all these things, because the people at the top are smart. As much as we want to downplay, they're idiots, they got a lot of smart people running things, and they see the same things we're seeing. They might not admit it the same way, and they have a different play because they have the levers and they say, hey, I'm going to extract a bunch more wealth. I'm going to create this AI company. I'm going to do this and that. I'm going to take even more wealth and prosperity from people, but I'm going to shepherd them and corral them into where I want them to go. None of us have that ability to do that right now at this moment. We could, but our morals and our ethics and our values don't allow us to do a lot of those things. We're like, nope, not doing that. That's insane. But guess what? There's some people, they go to government, they go to positions of power like that, and they seek those opportunities, and then they do it. And so that's what Bitcoin combats. It combats all of that nonsense. And that's the fight. Going flow charting, back to what we said earlier, you got to be down for it. You got to be down for the adversarialness that we're in the adversarial thinking. And that's why I said this earlier. Like, people, they discount the attack surfaces, the game theory, and the adversarial thinking that's needed to stay in Bitcoin. They look at all the other assets. They look at them all as a spectrum, and they're all in the same line. They ain't on the same line. They're all on different modes. Like the attack surfaces are massive on all these protocols, the other altcoins, the other asset classes, everything on the Titanic, the real estate, the gold and silver, all of it. They're going to go mine some more in asteroids eventually. Could it be 100 years from now? Of course it could. I can, people in the comments are going to say, oh, they're not going to. Of course, guys, like these are generalities, but where is the puck going? Where is the puck going? That's the game here. And seeing that into the future of where things are actually headed, and actually using your intuition and prognosticating of, hey, this is what's actually going to happen in the future. So to me, again, it's just all the talk about all these other things are just short-term noise and short-term not thinking about attack vectors. Now I'm getting into altcoins as I want some extra fiat, because you're not thinking about attack vectors. You're not thinking, that to me is the difference of all this. There's nuance, people lacking patience. I get it. But that to me is the big thing that we're just missing here with everyone. Why these fights continue to happen over and over again, because people don't want to put in the work. They want to continue fighting because people are obsessed. Misery loves company at the end of the day. They want to just they want to have something instead of the be and do part. They don't want to become someone else. They don't want to do different things. They just want to have what other people have. Yep. End of story.
I recently came across a quote. It said something like, your money, the amount of value that you have, is the amount of value that you've helped other people, or you've given to other people, how many people you've served. It's almost like a tally. And I think Bitcoin shows that perfectly. Just everything that you said there, Brandon, I think Bitcoin just makes, so in the legacy system with fiat, we can just fake things, and we can create more money for people who created no value for anybody else. Whereas with Bitcoin, it corrects all of that, and it ensures that we have truth.
Yeah, a couple points here. I think that people should really spend some time, and if they didn't really understand what Brandon was saying there, I think it's worthwhile going back and listening to that a couple times, because that's a real unlock. Because I feel like real estate people, they're really close to understanding what Bitcoin is. It's very similar, especially like land, housing and stuff like that, buildings. You can always make more. It'll get easier and cheaper to do over time. But the other point I wanted to make was, Salvador said, Brandon must be stacking and foregoing purchases on new shirts. I think Brandon's got probably by far the best and most variety of style here. If anything, I wear this like every freaking week or twice a week, and probably Rajat and Robin too. But I think that with real estate too, it's important to remember that there's like a difference between utility and a store of value, right? Because as Robin mentioned, you can live in a house, but there's so many people out there who didn't have anywhere to store their value before Bitcoin. And so they would buy a second house, and they'd use it like for a couple weeks a year, and they would pay the insurance, and they would pay the maintenance, and they would pay the property taxes. And really what they were doing is they were barely just getting by, because yes, it went up in nominal terms, as Brandon said, or in fiat terms, but the expenses that you incur during that, plus the headache and stress and anxiety of having a place in a different location, it's a lot. And so it's a little bit different if you're going to rent them out. I still think Bitcoin's a far superior version of that. But like eventually people are going to figure that out. They're going to say, hey, why would I own this property that I use once a year? Even though I love that location, we love going there. Why not just rent? Why not take all that money, all that capital from the real estate, the second or third homes, put that into Bitcoin where I don't have to think about it. There's no property tax. There's no maintenance. There's no stress, nothing. And I can just rent. Whenever I want to go, I can rent somewhere for a week. It just makes way more logical sense. And humans really aren't dumb. It just takes a little bit longer for some people to figure this out. But eventually all that capital that's being stored in real estate right now is going to flow into Bitcoin. And there's only so many units of Bitcoin where people can buy, right? And the thing I was thinking of there is like, you think about real estate through the years, you have people like Robert Kiyosaki, you have all these real estate gurus who are like saying, hey, here's the playbook for buying real estate and investing in real estate. Why was that? Why is there nothing around Bitcoin like that yet? Well, number one, it's because real estate isn't finite. Number two, the system is kind of reliant on real estate being a store of value with a monetary premium attached to it. But the other thing too is like the Larry Finks and the Donald Trumps and the other people like that, they know that there's only so many units available. And so nobody's going to come out and say, hey, average person, here you go. Here's how you get into Bitcoin. This is the playbook, the blueprint for it. They're stacking behind the scenes and they're blatantly lying to your face about what this asset is, while behind the scenes, they're getting as much as they can of it. And that's where real estate and Bitcoin are different, is you can't print more Bitcoin. No matter how many people want to own Bitcoin, we cannot create more of it. And they know that. As Brandon said, these people aren't stupid. They know that. And that's why they're not giving you like the blueprint of how to use Bitcoin, very similar to how people use real estate, and just keep stacking and using that and stacking more. And I don't think it'll ever happen. I think that they'll just keep stacking behind the scenes and lying to the average person.
Awesome.
What's going on in the chat here?
In the chat, I just wanted to show it actually, because we've been here. I waited for the moment. We were hovering around the 35 to 39 range, and we never hit the 40 people in the live chat at the same time. But it's it's the best we ever had. So it's really, really cool. I just want to shout out to the main chat, because I feel like today the main chat really flowed nicely. It was a lot of things in there. I just see that it's opening up in infinity slowly and slowly. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Because there's like a 1 second delay. That's so fun. It's like it goes deeper and deeper.
The infinity cap.
Infinity cap. Slowly, yeah. So thank you so much, everyone that comes on the main chat, and for everyone also coming from the side channels, or like from the remote channels, or like however you want to call it, all our individual channels, for coming and joining us today. You guys have anything, a nugget or anything you wanna share on before we close this week?
Yeah. So we've never made price predictions on the show. So Rajat just responded to Jupiter's June or something like that. We've never said that. I just said this the other day. It could go back down to 40,000 for all I know. Great. That'd be amazing. So we don't make price predictions here. We've literally never, I don't hang out with any Bitcoiners that make price predictions and sit there and like, oh, I'm doing my flow chart. And so that's not the right show for this. So I don't know where Jupiter's mind is at right now. Like you said, that might be a you problem. And then somebody here, Rishi, said earlier that he just came in and said, we're all grifters. You're all grifters and dorks. So I don't know if that was to us, but I'll get even more dorky right now. So I'll up your dorkiness right now. And I would make the proclamation that we are the teachers of the world right now. We are absolutely the teachers, teaching history, health, education. We've talked about all these things going forward. Monetary finance. You're not going to find this. Go to a government school. Good luck. Go find anywhere where they're talking actual real. I've been there. I went through the government-run school system here in America. Good luck. There's a reason why America went from number one down to what? The Department of Education came in and just absolutely nosedived, just submarined itself purposely. But nonetheless, here we are. So if you want to go actually get some real knowledge and education on things and have real teachers, then I suggest you go find some real teachers, whether that's us or other people. I just mentioned Robert Kiyosaki. There's thousands of people doing content out there, actually living life, actually doing the thing, actually living all these things, creating businesses. Like we've said, all of us have had businesses, done stuff, been in the real world, doing things. So I just wanted to up the dorkiness a little bit. That's all I wanted to do. And I wanted to address some of these the people, whether they're bots or not, who knows. But I just wanted to, up the dork a little bit. That's all.
I like that. These videos are gonna age so well. Oh man. Can you imagine in like 10 years? I don't know, whenever it happens, let's say 10 years, 5 years, whatever, there's going to be a lot of people who wished they bought at 126K.
Yep. 100%. I've rethink about the guy that sits there in 2010 has 600 Bitcoin generated through his computer while incurring no cost for them whatsoever, and thinks that he missed the bus with 600 Bitcoin generated on a normal home computer just while he was working, and thinks he missed the bus. And he's sitting there in 2020, in 2026, in even 2017, and like, oh, I made a fortune and I might have sold it because I thought like better have like $10 or $100 for it than nothing, but he could have had hundreds, thousands, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions later on. So it's that once in a lifetime opportunity. And I know it's hard seeing those people buying at 1,000 and you're like, okay, it's almost 100,000. It seems so high now. But the same thought process were with people that they saw the price at 1,000 and saw people buying it $1. Like, it's always the same story. So either you invent a time machine or you buy Bitcoin today. That's your two options.
So true. Really quick, sorry, really quick. I want to make an amendment to what I said because I don't know if I said it clearly. I meant all Bitcoiners, not just the four of us here are going to be the teachers of the future, but all Bitcoiners. Like, if you know a true, thoroughbred Bitcoiner, those are the teachers. So the people here in the chat, like, I see people saying like, yeah, I'm the tech person, my family, all that, like, right? Like, look at us, AI, this and that. It's like, if you're a Bitcoiner, you're on the cutting edge of society and you're constantly going into new frontiers because that's the personality type that is a Bitcoiner. So I just want to make that clear. It's all the Bitcoiners that are whatever, putting out content, writing books in the chat here, people saying stuff. You're the tech wizard in your family. You're constantly pushing the edge and everyone's always sick of hearing about you. It's like, okay, what are you into now, buddy? Like, what are you doing now? Like, you're teaching us something else. You need those people in life or else you stay stagnant and you die. You ain't growing, you're dying. So I just wanted to make that amendment. It's not just us.
And those people will never give you the benefit of the doubt. I have an old friend of mine who I like him, he likes me, we respect each other, but he always very hard disagrees on my investment choices. And I told him very early when I got into Tesla, like, why I love Tesla, why it's a great company and why I invested in it when it was like a fraction of what it is today. And I made, I don't know, I think like 11x or 12x, something with that. And over the whole time, he was like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, even though the price and the market gave me right over time. Now, then I told him like, oh, like I went all into Bitcoin now. And he's like, oh, even more bubbly, even more speculative, or even like more shitty. And I told him about Bitcoin at 4K, like very early on in like 2020 when it dipped so hard. And he's like, you're wasting your time at 10K, you're wasting your time at 20K, you're wasting your time at 50K, you're wasting your time in energy, like, and it just kept on and on. And I had a coffee with him when it was 110K. and I thought like he will give me right. Like I told him about Tesla very early on, told him about Bitcoin very early on. He's like, no, you're wrong. Like, just because you're right for a very long time doesn't mean you're right. And I'm like, I don't know, like it. Like that might just be the definition of being right.
True. That's literally what it is.
Oh man.
Yeah. And I think what I was going to say there's like, we probably spent the entire show today talking about the fiat price. And there was a great comment there I just saw from Melanie, and that's absolutely true. Said, focus on getting more sats. That's the number you need to pay attention to. They said, focus on amount of sats more than the fiat price. And, I just think that even if you are somebody who says, well, I'm up 10% in the last 4 years, I still think that you're missing the whole point of what Bitcoin is. Yes, we're all kind of here for the number to go up in our purchasing power, but there's much more to it than that. And when you take away the ability for the Federal Reserve and a small group of people to print money, it really reshapes the whole society. And the cool thing about Bitcoin is that it's a global asset. There isn't going to be one country that benefits from Bitcoin. There's going to be every single human being on this planet is going to benefit from Bitcoin. And so I think that instead of people trying to predict what the price is going to be in 6 months or a year from now and watching the charts, people should really take a good look at how to become more private, how to get more sats that maybe nobody knows that you have, how to help other people who need it. Yep. And I just think that the freedom go up is much, much, much more important than the number go up, especially where we are right now, because Bitcoin's going to be around. I would say that Bitcoin's inevitable in a sense that it's going to be around. It's just, what's it going to look like in 20 years? And I think we're kind of the people at this stage right now who have the ability to kind of sway that one path or the other. And Bitcoin means nothing if we can't use it privately. And kind of going back to the main theme today is like, you don't need that much Bitcoin. Understand what you're holding, learn how to protect that, and learn how to use it in a more free and private way. And that's how you're going to win. And, it could go to whatever it wants to, and it's going to go to whatever it wants to. But you can't go back in time and change the way you did things to set you up for that point. So now is the time to be thinking about your security, your privacy, all these different aspects instead of what the fiat price is, and add value, get more sats and learn how to protect them and use them privately, and you're going to win.
I want to just shortly add on that, because I have a good friend in Bulgaria, Ivan Nako 2000, I think he's called on Nostr and on Twitter, and he just sent me today a message, and he made also a public post on Nostr about that he lost 3.5 Bitcoin, and he organizes an event in Bulgaria. He's a Bitcoiner, like he's a friend of mine, and I hear those stories over and over again from people, not people that don't get Bitcoin, not people that just like are casually in, people that actually get it, that are in the industry, that he's literally organizing a Bitcoin event with Knut Svanholm and great people as a speaker. It happens over and over again. And it started like with him on Telegram. Like Telegrams are a dangerous place to be. I avoid it very, very hard. I barely am on there. I chat with like 2-3 people. If you write me new on Telegram, I will not respond to you. It's a hard policy now on Telegram. And Twitter only if I have connections to you. And so it's like protecting your Bitcoin, knowing how to do custody is the second most important thing in Bitcoin. The most important thing is buying it, like actually getting the Bitcoin. And then the second most important thing is learn how to protect it with all you got. Sorry, Brandon, to like interrupt you.
No, I was going to say, we just have another one here. Nikon just said, until governments decide to ban Bitcoin and you are effed. I welcome the government banning Bitcoin. I welcome it. You'd see adoption. We'd go to 1 million within, if they banned it in America or something like some big, go to 1 million within months. Like, good luck. Cool. Come take it. Like, what are you going to do? That's the beauty of it. Like, governments would F themselves, which is one of the reasons they probably haven't banned it in a lot of countries, because as Joe Manchin said in 2014, the senator from West Virginia, that we should have taken Bitcoin out when we could have in 2010, 2011, when the network was very small. And now we can't. So now we're kind of effed. That was Joe Manchin's comments, the senator from West Virginia 12 years ago. So just let that set in your head for anyone who's confused about who makes the rules here. He who has the Bitcoin makes the rules. He who runs the Bitcoin protocol, as George, we talked about yesterday, are the owners of the system. You make the rules. You're a node runner. You make the rules. Everyone else bends the knee to you. And people will start to understand that over time. It's just the education is unevenly distributed. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you think that or not. It does not matter. It's like you not believing gravity. Does not matter. Period. You can think whatever you want. 2 + 2 is 5. Doesn't matter. You can think gravity goes upward. Doesn't matter. It's just such common sense, but yeah, haven't done the work. So I welcome it. Sure, ban it, government.
And they did it before, right? Like, I mean,
China,
Bitcoin is already banned already now.
Exactly.
So like, it's
ridiculous. Banning mining. It's ridiculous.
It's advertisement for Bitcoin. Yep. And I think one comment said it, governments cannot ban Bitcoin. They can only ban themselves from accessing Bitcoin. Yep. And a Bitcoin ban would only work if every single government on planet Earth does it at the same time with the same restrictions, 100%. And even at that point, you still have individuals that don't care about that it's banned and still use it. And so even if, and this never happens, even if all governments in the world collude together because they think Bitcoin is such an evil thing, remember the US president currently is endorsing Bitcoin. Like there's many other presidents, there's many other politicians that endorse Bitcoin, not even like we are very far away from it even being reality. But even if that would be the case, it would still not work. It would just push out the adoption curve for maybe 10 years, 5 years. Yes, it probably hinders the Bitcoin price. It's probably bad for your number go up technology, but it does not impact Bitcoin, the technology. You cannot ban the internet. You cannot ban electricity. You cannot ban a technology that is superior and whose time is coming.
100%. That's literally, that's all there is to it. You know, like, can we set the adoption rate back? Can we set the price back? Of course. But that's because we're thinking of it from fiat terms. That scares people. That scares people, because if you think about what's best for humanity, if that's your perspective on everything, then you steer things very clearly. That's it. But if you're thinking selfishly from your own perspective of thinking, when can I buy my next house? When can I buy whatever it is? Then of course you're going to look at all these things and from a much different perspective. You're going to think, oh, they're going to ban this, they're going to do that. Oh, it's going to hurt. It's all emanating from a fiat price perspective at the end of the day. And that's why we talked about earlier, the attack surfaces. You want to be in the protocol, whatever that is. Bitcoin is the hardest protocol I've ever seen in my life. I want to be in that. I want to withstand the governments. I want to withstand real estate. I want to withstand anything that's coming my way. I want to withstand solar flares. I want to withstand, you name it. It can run on a mesh network. It can do, I mean, like, think of what Bitcoiners are creating. We didn't talk about, Marty Mulmy, what he created with the mesh network VPN, using Nostr protocol, and one of the earliest Bitcoiners. And that just got developed or, released in the last week or two. I mean, so the things that are coming and the things that are here, governments cannot stop any of it. I'll say it again. Governments cannot stop any of it. And yes, can they throw a couple of people in jail? Can they throw 1,000 people in jail? Guess what? There's backlash. And then the governments work for the people, and people can say whatever they want. Like, that's great. You can kill a bunch of people. You can throw a bunch of people in jail. It doesn't end well for governments at the end of the day. So you can make all the claims you want of, like, government's going to do this. Yes, on the edges they can, until there's pushback, until a saturation point is hit with 1% of people, 0.5%, 2%, 3%, and they say, no more. You're done here now. End of story. I don't know why this is so hard to get through the average person's head. And I got to jump off here in a second, because I'll just keep ranting, because I don't understand why the average person, I feel like 20, 30 years of just like knowledge, history, and experience, there's like want to come out of me right now of like, how do we not see these things? And that's the thing. I'm planting my flag here and saying, no more. We will not go. And yes, will there be people martyred? Ross Ulbricht was martyred. You have Keone and Bill in prison right now. People will be martyred. People will be taken out. And this is why I said earlier, you have to be down for the fight. You got to understand, this is an adversarial protocol. It's money. It's the greatest game on earth. It's the end game. It's just not going to be easy. It's not like I get in my Coinbase account and like, oh, you know what? Things are great now. I got a bunch of money. If that's your thinking, get out. See you later.
Yeah, and
100%.
There's a chat here that says even more importance of self-custody, right? This is why you self-custody, because it's like, if governments decided that they can't stop Bitcoin. We know that. I think we agree on that. But even if they wanted to seize Bitcoin, the only way that they could do it is by taking the private keys of the Coinbases, the Rivers, the Krakens, and the people who are holding Bitcoin on there are just like a number on the screen. You don't own anything. And so, yeah, it's easy to come up with the what ifs. This happens. What if? It's not going to happen. It's just game theory. You have to understand game theory. There's so many different layers of Bitcoin, game theory being the biggest one. And even more so important to just get your Bitcoin, take it into self-custody, learn how to protect it, and you're kind of immune from all the fiat games that are going to happen, which they probably will.
Really cool. Initially, we wanted to make a 1 hour podcast, like 1 hour live stream.
That's my fault. The last 30 minutes,
we got to 1.5. So I think it was.
I'm gonna go find my children.
One. I like that. I love your rants, man, Bratton. Keep them coming.
Amen.
I love all of you guys.
Everybody watching this, get over and subscribe to the Bitcoin Mastermind channel, where we want to have the conversation all together. We keep saying it, but I think for people to change, you actually have to say it about 1,000 times. So ideally, we have one chat that we all can see, and everybody can have a conversation in there instead of 5 different ones. So just very simply, it doesn't cost you anything. It's not going to take you any time. There's zero friction. Go over, subscribe to BTC Mastermind. Join us there next week, and we can all just kind of hang out together. It just makes sense, right? Like, I don't see the friction here for people. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stay here on George's channel or on Robin's channel. I don't want to go over there. That's stupid. Way too hard. But let's just all hang out together. You can all be in the chat together talking about the same things. We can be more interactive in the chat, because Now it's like I see a comment. I don't know if half the people have seen it or not. How are we supposed to react to that? So everybody in the same chat, BTC Mastermind. Let's all meet over there this time next week.
Really cool. And by the way, we've never had, I think, so many comments on the main chat. It has been today a really cool day to see the main chat being so active. Even though maybe it's not. Maybe it was even the one where we had the most comments. That was really cool because there's a lot of like things coming in. Yeah, but yeah, thank you so much, Brandon, Joe, Rashad. I had the show go a little bit earlier. It was really cool, and we'll be back next week on Tuesday, same time, same topic.
Okay, thanks, fellas. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.